A long-time dream of Freemasonry was to put their own man on the chair of St. Peter. Freemasonry believed it had accomplished its goal when Angelo Roncalli emerged from the October 1958 conclave claiming to be Pope John XXIII. We will now briefly cover some of the information that indicates that Angelo Roncalli, John XXIII, was a Freemason and was praised by top-ranking Freemasons throughout the whole world. The Grand Master of the Grand Orient Lodge of Italy stated in an interview with 30 Days magazine that, quote, "As for that, it seems that John XXIII was initiated into a Masonic lodge in Paris and participated in the work of the Istanbul workshops." Mary Ball Martinez was an accredited member of the Vatican Press Group. She wrote that French Republican guards observed from their posts the then nuncio Angelo Roncalli in civilian clothes, leaving his residence to attend Thursday evening meetings of the Grand Orient Masonic Lodge of France. The high-ranking Freemason Carl Jacob Burckhardt wrote, quote, "I know Cardinal Roncalli very well. He was a deist and a rationalist, whose strength did not lie in the ability to believe in miracles and to venerate the sacred. When Angelo Roncalli was made a, quote, cardinal, he insisted upon receiving his cardinal's hat from the atheist and notoriously anti-clerical socialist Vincent Auriol, president of France, whom Roncalli described as, quote, an honest socialist. At social functions in Paris, Roncalli was frequently seen socializing with the Soviet ambassador, even though the Russian government had resumed its pre-war policy of brutal extermination of Catholics in Russia. Roncalli was also known as a, quote, good friend and confidant of Edward Herriot, secretary of the anti-Catholic Radical Socialists of France. John XXIII encyclical Pacem in Terris, No. 14, April 11, 1963, quote, "Also among man's rights is that of being able to worship God in accordance with the right dictates of his own conscience, and to profess his religion both in private and in public. This is heresy. It is not man's right to worship false gods. This is the heresy of religious liberty. This has been condemned by many popes." Pacem in Terris was praised by Masonic leaders themselves as a Masonic document. The official organ of the Supreme Council of the 33rd Degree Scottish Rite Masons of Mexico stated in their bulletin in May 1963, quote, "The light of the great architect of the universe enlightens the Vatican. In democratic and communist countries, Pacem in Terris has been universally praised. The encyclical Pacem in Terris is a vigorous statement of Masonic doctrine. We do not hesitate to recommend its thoughtful reading." In a book published by the Knights Templar Freemasons, they said, quote, "The direction of our action, continuation of the work of John XXIII, and all those who have followed him on the way to Templar Universalism." The 33rd Degree Freemason Yves Marsoudin said about John XXIII, quote, "With all our hearts we support the revolution of John XXIII." Shortly after being elected an antipope and moving into the Vatican, John XXIII found an ancient statue of Hippolytus, an antipope of the 3rd century. He had the statue restored and placed at the entrance of the Vatican Library. John XXIII said, quote, "If I were born a Muslim, I believe that I would have always stayed a good Muslim, faithful to my religion." John XXIII also did things like stopping his car so that he could bless Jews leaving their, quote, Sabbath worship. To a recently baptized Jewish boy, John XXIII said, quote, "By becoming a Catholic, you do not become less a Jew." John XXIII was also the first claimant to the papacy to receive at the Vatican a Buddhist religious leader and a Shinto high priest. John XXIII wanted the clergy of the, quote, Orthodox Church, many of whom were KGB agents, to participate at Vatican II. The, quote, Orthodox said that their clergy would attend, provided that there was no condemnation of communism at Vatican II. John XXIII agreed not to condemn communism at Vatican II, and so the, quote, Orthodox schismatics came to the council. This was referred to as the Vatican-Moscow Agreement. After the death of John XXIII, numerous documents from communists, Masons, and Jews were sent to the Vatican expressing their sorrow for John XXIII. People like Fidel Castro and Nikita Khrushchev sent messages of praise and sorrow. Charles Rienzi was a sovereign Grand Master of secret societies. He said, quote, "To the memory of Angelo Roncalli, Pope under the name of John the 23rd, who has deigned to give us his benediction, his understanding, and his protection." Angelo Roncalli took the name John the 23rd. The name John had been deliberately avoided by popes for 500 years because the last man to have taken it was the infamous John the 23rd of the Great Western Schism. There are incredible parallels between the recent antipope John the 23rd and the antipope John the 23rd who reigned during the Great Western Schism. Both John the 23rds called a false ecumenical council in the 4th year of their reigns. Both antipope John the 23rd's reign spanned 5 years, and both ended shortly before the 3rd session of their false councils. We believe that the similarities between the first antipope John the 23rd and the second are not merely coincidences. The first antipope John the 23rd was also the last antipope to reign from Rome. Was Angelo Roncalli the recent antipope John the 23rd by taking that name, indicating symbolically that he is continuing in the line of antipopes to reign from Rome?